All right, well, today's project, working on this brush truck, trying to mount this little 3-cylinder Kubota diesel engine with a water pump, hail pump on the back, a brush truck for a local volunteer fire department. But when they delivered it, there was hardly any fuel in the tank, and now I think it ran out of fuel. I'm gonna go ahead and dump 5 gallons of diesel into it, and that's a gasoline can, but yes, I dumped the gasoline out into the old service truck and filled it up full of diesel. And so, let's get started. Damn, that's a lot of pressure. Did you hear that? Thank you. The fuel filter is right here. Unlike every Duramax, on top of the fuel filter you got a little plunger. I'll get the camera set up as close as I can and show you guys how to prime the fuel system. All right, if you guys can tell, there's a little black plastic screw right there. Yeah, there's a good shot. See right there? Take that screw out. And then you just pump that primer right there until you see fuel come out of that hole. All right, see all that fuel coming out. Put your plug back in. Then you want to hit that primer on top a few more times and try to crank it, see if she starts. All right, so on larger trucks, like Duramaxes, they don't have glow plugs on them. They're not worried about glow plugs igniting the fuel in it or anything. So we're gonna get a rag, soak it in gasoline, and put it over the air cleaner, and that should get enough RPM going to build up enough fuel pressure from the CP3 pump on this, the back of the old mechanical fuel pressure lift pump, to bleed all the injectors out, hopefully. This can be a pain in the butt sometimes, but just crank it for 10-15 seconds, let your starter cool down, hook another truck up to it, or a jumper pack or something, or a battery booster, and just keep trying, and don't over crank the starter. If you start over cranking the starter, you're gonna melt the top of the batteries. You're gonna start melting battery cables and ends and stuff. Well, this truck is set for a while, so the battery's already low. So we're gonna go ahead and hook up another vehicle to the other side. If I had a better extension cord, I'd use my Associated Equipment jumper pack, or jumper box rather, or battery charger box. I think I put out 400 amps. And it's I think a 6, 8, 12, and 24 volt setup. I'll show you guys that here a little bit. But I'm gonna have Riley over there hook up his vehicle. He's got a large battery in his. Let it charge for a little bit and then try again. So if y'all plan on doing a lot of work on diesels in the future or at any point, get you a good set of battery cables. I bought these at Napa. I'm not real happy with them. I'll put the ones that I like in the link in the description. It's an Amazon link. Or you can build your own out of some double-aught battery cable. Whichever, but make sure you got thick cable, because if you got these little cheap, chintzy AutoZone, O'Reilly's, Walmart battery cables, you're not going to be able to jump start a vehicle. Now you can use those hooked up to a small battery or a small car to one of these batteries and let it just sit there and charge about 30 minutes and be okay, but most of the time you want a thick set of cables. There we go. So I'm gonna let it run for a while. The problem was this truck sat for so long and just sat next to my shop without running, the batteries went dead. We started up the other day, we parked it out front of the shop, let it idle, and I didn't notice that the fuel gauge was on empty or below empty, and it just ran itself out of fuel. So a couple things about jump starting diesels. Number one, you're gonna need to get yourself a really good set of jumper cables. I bought that set of jumper cables from Napa because I was in a bind. I don't know what happened to my other jumper cables I had. The other jumper cables I had, I put an Anderson plug in the middle of them, and I love that Anderson plug setup. I'm gonna buy another set and I'll build one, and I'll show you guys how I like to use them. You can buy the Anderson plug jumper cables on Amazon right now, I believe, the whole set. If I can find those, and I'll buy one. If not, look down in the description for the Amazon links and get you a good set of cables. When all the batteries are dead, you're gonna need to hook something up to it and just let the batteries charge for a little bit. Don't immediately start trying to crank it, especially like heavy equipment or 18-wheelers with large displacement engines. You're gonna be fighting a losing battle, and when you do crank it, only let it crank over about 10-15 seconds and let it cool off, because you don't want to fry your customer starter, and more importantly, you don't want to, I've seen it to where people have hooked up jumper cables to a battery and cranked so long that the starter wire that was connected, you know, the cable, starter cable that goes from a starter up to the battery, got so hot it actually melted the lead post on the batteries, and you don't want that because then you have to put battery. Trucks and engines that don't have glow plugs or grid heaters, you can use the gasoline on a rag trick, you can spray WD-40 into it, you can do starting fluid, all that works fine. You're not really that concerned about it, but the trucks like a Ford 7.360s that have glow plugs in the cylinders, the problem is when you put any sort of combustible fuel in the intake, those glow plugs come on, they get red hot, and they can ignite that fuel prematurely, and then you have detonation. So you'll be cranking it over and you can hear it, like, and then all of a sudden, that's the piston trying to come up, and the gas is inside exploding before it gets to top dead center. And when that crank is here, it'll come up and then try to push itself back down. Of course, on these, you know, no big problem. We could have taken a fuel filter off, filled it up full of fuel, but when it's got that little primer on top, works pretty good. Hope this video helps you out. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. If you guys got your own tips and tricks for getting diesel engines started after they've ran out, or priming them rather, put it down in the comments below. I know of about 15 I personally know about 15 different ways to do it. This is just one of the ways that I got this one done. One particular way is not going to be the foolproof way to get every single engine primed and back up running. I have had hell with some of them, and other ones seem to be, you know, they take minutes. Anyway, hope you liked the video. Hit the scribble button and get out and fix something.